everything about learning, how people learn, training, all of those things, and the wisdom says we should have stopped about half a day ago and we shouldn't keep going. But we're going to keep going anyway. So this is not the ideal way to be doing it after 2 days of everything going into your head. So, you could see it yesterday afternoon. I think by lunchtime on the Thursday, heads were starting to fill up, and by yesterday afternoon it was starting to explode and ooze out their heads. So I apologise for that, and I know that not everything's sticking from that point of view, but this is about us trying to come out of this with a whole lot of momentum, and I'd rather take you on the journey of kind of seeing the whole picture so that as we start getting through this thing over the next few months, it's going to have more context. So if you're sitting there and some of this is getting a bit overwhelming, then that is not a surprise, right? So my apologies for doing it that way, but I would rather do that than be taking the time to have a small group and then as we're bringing you in having no idea where we're starting. So today's probably going to be a bit tough because, again, the third day on these things is not easy. So please help me and let's see if we can get through it. There is a chance, I won't promise it now, there's a chance we'll be able to finish quite a bit earlier this afternoon, so that's what we'll aim for. Well, we'll see how we go. Okay? So yesterday we started to dive into that whole complexity of what the hell do you do with 9.6 stakeholders. And if you think of that exercise where we started with these flip charts on the wall down there, we were all over the place in terms of who we focused at. And although it's not perfect, we're a bit clearer about what that could look like, and at least some clarity in the language starting to emerge in terms of how we could work together to work out what are the differences in our views in terms of these individuals and how we will start approaching to bring them together. So we want to keep building a little bit on that, and we're almost finished the whole 102 piece, and then we'll get into the 103, but the last piece we want to cover is this whole, what the hell do you do with procurement? Because they're always in the way, and they're always a pain in the backside at the end. So let's think for a second about what's going on here. When you actually have a look, and I'm surprised it's not higher than this, to be honest. Stats say that 56% of the time procurement's involved in deals. Well, I think probably for what we do, 100% of the time procurement's involved in the deals, right? So maybe says something about some of the size of some of the deals in these in the actual research that's gone on. So have a quick discussion at your tables for a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. What are procurement driven by? And if you come back to our 7 mobiliser profiles, do you think there's any of those profiles that stand out that are typically who the procurement guys are? Is there a pattern there, or is it random all over the place? So have a quick discussion at your table and that can be shared. So this is when CB dig into it, what they found, and this is kind of interesting when we talk about price all the time, right? Supplier offers beneficial financial terms. Well, yep, that's important, right? So this is what is most important effectively on the scale about driving a high quality deal. Are they easy to do business with? Has a good price? So lots of financial stuff, but actually the biggest driving is this supplier's offering will help us improve our business performance. And so it's really interesting when we're stuck there a lot of the time when we interact with procurement, particularly late in the deal, that it's about price. Yet actually there's more than that, as was picked up on the tables, that's driving this thing. So again, apologies for the kind of slightly wordy slides in this bit because I haven't actually gone and tidied it up. It's a bit hacked out of the CV stuff, but while reducing costs is important to procurement, the data reveals that good price and beneficial financial terms are not necessarily procurement's most important considerations when evaluating a deal. So that it's kind of interesting when we spend so much time at the end talking about price. So if that's their driver, if that's the big, cool, price is in here, but if that's the biggest driver, why does it always feel like we're stuck at the end talking about price?
Suppliers aren't able to demonstrate the business improvement. As I say, if we're talking to them too late, we're not spending any time to convince them or prove to them
when do we go and bring insight about the business improvement we're offering with procurement late in the deal? So if we don't do this, what's left for them to talk to us about? Price, commercial terms, risk of us falling over, not delivering, all those things. How many of us have actually ever gone there and tried to really quantify that conversation? Because we superficially go there and we get pushed away and it comes back to price. So this is almost a bit of a revelation, right? So often we hear, all procurement does is come in and sabotage the deal at the end and they slow everything down, it's about price. We don't go bring any value to them and change the conversation. It's a big surprise, they go back here. And so, if you look at on the surface, sales and procurement feel like they're on completely different planets. And, naturally sellers have had a historically tenuous relationship with procurement, often choosing to delay their involvement, leave procurement to the end because they're going to be a pain in the ass and all they're worried about is price. Or, I'm so clever, I'm going to get consensus and I'll bypass them and I'll find the unicorn key stakeholder that'll tell procurement what to do and they won't be involved. Well, apparently, according to the stats, sometimes that happens and they're not, but I've yet to achieve it in a complex sale. It doesn't matter what you do, they're going to be involved in the sorts of things we do. I don't think we'll ever avoid it. And of course, procurement have become much, much more powerful in these conversations over the years, right? As we all with our industries and businesses live in this world of commoditisation because it's hard to differentiate and it's increasingly more competition and easy for people to copy and catch us. The drive to get costs out as we get squeezed to get margin back in our businesses is huge, right? Almost everybody has a huge focus on procurement, and as a skill set, it's way more advanced than sales in terms of negotiation. And so they're not singularly focused on price, but we don't get in and talk to them. And this is a kind of interesting statement, right? What we miss as salespeople a lot of the time is procurement might actually be a really important ally in the customer organisation. Because if they see that customer improvement, if they see the business improvement, they're actually often really good at helping with this mess of stakeholders. And actually, once they see that, remember the test at the start of your flowchart there that you got for going down to identify who's a mobiliser and a talker and a blocker. What's the very first thing you do in the first box in there?
Okay.
Somebody needs to speak loud.
Engage.
With what?
Thought-provoking challenging questions.
You put thought-provoking insight or stuff that's going to lead to your insight in front of them. That's the first test, right? The very first test in that flowchart is not, I've gone and had a chat to them, and we've talked about some stuff. It's when I push that insight, that view, how do they respond? Because we've got a point of view around that insight. Remember, we're going in there to learn and to understand about their business. We're not arrogant enough to not do that. But actually the whole premise is we're turning this on its head and we're going to teach them something they don't know about. So we've got to do the learning, understanding. That's where the talkers are so good, right? They can help us with that learning. But then to actually start that whole process and map out the stuff, you've got to go in there with your point of view around the insight and test your hypothesis effectively. And if you test that with procurement, it's often interesting because if they really see customer improvement, because as we're seeing here, they're more driven by that than we think, they can actually be a really, really good ally in this whole thing. If we're going to test our insight with procurement, when do we need to do that?
It's possible.
Probably early, right? When do we normally engage with procurement?
Late.
Really late. Actually, they're a pain in the backside. I'll leave it as late as I can because I know it's just going to be a negotiation. So hopefully I can get around it, right? So that's the whole thing, right? Is the most common strategy is delay it as long as possible because the buying group and my consensus across the 9.6 is going to be there to overpower them. And actually we miss the fact that